Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at a kind of hidden engine that powers so much of our lives, really.
Yeah, it's often working way behind the scenes.
Exactly. From how our savings grow or don't to maybe the shape of our days. We're diving into the concept of compounding.
That's it. And like you hinted, most people's minds jump straight to finance when they hear that word.
Right, that's the common association.
But the reality is compounding is, well, it's a much broader principle. So our mission today is to explore how this silent force operates in all sorts of unexpected places. We've got some really interesting insights lined up.
Okay, good. So we're going beyond the dollars and cents. We're going to unpack how compounding subtly molds our habits, strengthens or I guess weakens our connections with others,
Yeah, definitely.
and even influences the very way we think and pick up new skills.
Precisely. The goal is to really understand this pervasive effect and hopefully unlock a few aha moments for you about your own potential for growth.
Sounds great. Where should we start? The familiar ground.
Let's do that. So let's begin with the area most people recognize, money. Imagine you invest, say, a simple $100,
Okay.
and it earns a steady 10% each year. What happens over time?
Well, first year, that's straightforward, right? 10% of 100 is $10,
Yeah.
so you've got $110.
Exactly, $110. But here's where it gets interesting, this sort of kernel of compounding. In the second year, that 10% isn't just calculated on your original $100.
Ah, right. It's working on the whole $110 now.
Precisely. So you earn $11 in that second year, not just $10. You end up with $121.
So that extra dollar, that's the interest earning its own.
That's the magic right there.
Yeah.
That's compounding kicking in, even if it's just a little bit at first.
And yeah, I mean, an extra dollar doesn't sound like much initially.
No, it doesn't feel dramatic. But
Yeah.
if you let this process just run over the long haul, say for 2 decades,
What happens then?
that initial $100, it blossoms into over $672.
Oh, just from that first $100. No extra money added.
Not a penny more from you. Just time and that consistent return doing their work. It's pretty remarkable.
It really is. Puts things into perspective.
It does.
Yeah.
And to really underscore its power, think about Warren Buffett, one of the most successful investors ever.
Yeah, of course.
He actually credited his huge wealth to, and I'm paraphrasing slightly here, but basically living in America, some lucky genes, and compound interest.
Huh. When he says it.
Right, it lends it some serious weight. It highlights that this gradual process, even if it feels slow at the start, becomes this, well, almost unstoppable force over time.
Okay, I see the power in finance, but you said it goes broader.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now let's pivot. Let's broaden our view beyond just dollars and cents, because this same fundamental principle is constantly at play in our daily lives, shaping our routines, our behaviors. Think about habits.
Okay, habits. How does compounding work there? Like a good habit?
Yeah, let's take a positive one. Say you commit to reading just 10 pages of a book every single day.
10 pages. Seems manageable. Doesn't feel like you're conquering the world or anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You won't wake up the next day feeling like a genius. But if you stick with it consistently, day after day, those 10 pages start to add up.
Okay.
Over a single year, doing just those 10 pages daily,
Yeah.
you'll have read the equivalent of more than 18 books.
18 books just from 10 pages a day. Wow.
Yeah, that's a significant amount of knowledge or enjoyment, right?
Yeah.
All built from what feels like a pretty minor daily effort. That's a positive compounding in action.
That's a fantastic illustration. But I guess the flip side must be true too. Those little negative things, they compound against us.
Oh, absolutely. Take calories, for instance. Eating maybe an extra 100 calories a day.
Doesn't sound like much, like half a cookie or something small.
Right, not in isolation.
Yeah.
A tiny snack, an extra splash of cream in your coffee.
Yeah.
But those 100 extra calories, day in, day out, assuming your activity level stays the same.
Let me guess. It adds up.
It really does. It can translate to gaining about 10 pounds over the course of a single year.
10 pounds from just 100 extra calories a day. Oof.
It's the exact same principle as the reading or the money, just, well, yielding a very different, maybe less desirable outcome.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? The key thing isn't if you're compounding, because it sounds like we all are, all the time.
We are.
The real question is, what are we compounding? What choices are we feeding into that engine every day?
That's precisely it. And this idea, it stretches even further. It goes beyond just our individual habits and into how we interact with other people. Let's talk about relationships.
Okay, relationships. How does compounding play out there? Positively first.
Sure. Think about small, consistent, positive actions, like offering a genuine compliment each day.
Or just asking someone, how are you? And actually, listening to the answer.
Exactly. Truly listening. These small, consistent acts of kindness, of focused attention, they're like making regular deposits into an emotional bank account with someone.
Ah, I like that analogy. Emotional deposits.
Yeah. And over time, they compound. They build strong relationships, grounded in trust, shared history, maybe shared laughter. You build this kind of emotional wealth.
That makes sense. But just like with the calories, the absence of those things, or doing small negative things, must compound negatively too.
It absolutely does. Think about maybe consistently missing someone's calls, or always replying with really short, curt messages.
Yeah, those little brush-offs.
Each one might seem tiny, maybe even justified in the moment, I'm busy, but over time, these small neglects stack up. They accumulate.
And the connection weakens.
Exactly. It leads to a gradual erosion of the connection. Relationships rarely just explode suddenly, right? More often, it's this slow fade, a result of compounded minor hurts or neglects. It's the opposite of that positive compounding of love. It's a slow drift apart.
That's quite sobering, actually, realizing how those tiny interactions can build up or tear down something so important.
It is indeed. And believe it or not, this principle of compounding, it reaches even deeper, right into our own minds, our patterns of thought.
Okay, now that's fascinating. Actions compounding. Okay. Money, habits, relationships, I get that. But thoughts, how does a thought compound?
Well, think of it like this. Say you have a moment of self-doubt about something. You let yourself dwell on it. What happens next?
Maybe I hesitate. I don't jump in as quickly.
Right, hesitation.
Yeah.
And if that happens again and again, that hesitation becomes your go-to response in similar situations.
Then maybe I start avoiding those situations altogether.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Avoidance. And over time, if that pattern continues, you can actually train your brain to just expect failure in that area.
Yeah.
That initial little seed of doubt, it's compounded into a whole negative mindset.
Wow. Like a snowball rolling downhill, picking up more snow, more negativity.
That's a perfect image for it.
So the reverse must be true too. Small positive thoughts, small wins.
Absolutely. A tiny success, maybe you tried something and it went okay or even well, that gives you a little jolt of confidence.
Right, it feels good.
And those small wins, if you acknowledge them, if you let them sink in and you keep taking small steps, they build momentum.
Okay.
And that momentum then compounds. It leads to a stronger and stronger sense of belief in yourself. Maybe even what feels like eventually an unstoppable conviction in certain areas.
It's like earning mental interest every day.
That's a great way to put it. Mental interest earned through consistent positive self-talk, acknowledging wins, and taking those proactive steps.
So it's not always about big epiphanies or dramatic mental shifts. It's these daily mental deposits we're making, positive or negative.
Precisely. Which brings us neatly to another area where this is absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
Mastering a new skill.
Right, because nobody just wakes up knowing how to play the guitar or speak fluent French. It takes time.
It takes time and consistent effort. Let's use an example. Say you decide to dedicate just 20 minutes every single day to practicing a new skill.
20 minutes, again, sounds doable, not overwhelming.
Right. And in the short term, maybe after a week or two, you might not feel like you've made massive strides. Progress can feel slow.
Yeah, frustratingly slow sometimes.
But if you keep that commitment going day after day, after you've logged around 300 hours of focused practice, which is roughly what 20 minutes a day gets you in a year,
Okay.
you will very likely have surpassed the skill level of, get this, 90% of people who thought about learning that skill but never actually started, or who gave up early on.
90%, just from 20 minutes a day, compounded over a year. That's incredible.
It really is powerful, and it applies to almost anything you could think of. Learning that guitar,
Getting better at public speaking.
learning to code, improving your writing, anything,
It's a potent reminder, isn't it, that the future you, the version of you who has that skill,
is being built right now,
Yeah.
compounded from these small, consistent efforts you make today. Your future self is literally waiting, being constructed bit by bit.
So, okay, as we start to kind of pull these threads together,
Mhm.
it seems really clear that this isn't just a finance thing. Compounding is. Wow, it feels like a fundamental law of how things progress.
I think that's fair to say. It truly is. Everything we've touched on, our habits, good and bad, our thoughts, positive and negative, our energy levels, the health of our relationships, they're all subject to this subtle yet incredibly powerful force of compounding.
And it implies that every choice, even the tiny ones we barely notice making,
It's like casting a vote.
a vote for who you're becoming. Yeah.
That's an excellent way to frame it.
Yeah.
And the really encouraging part, I think, is that it doesn't demand perfection. You don't have to be perfect every single day.
It's the consistency that matters more.
Exactly. Consistency is the fuel for the compounding engine. Just showing up, making that small positive deposit again and again.
Because, like we said at the start, it's always working anyway. In the quiet background of life, compounding is ticking along.
Silently, continuously shaping our future reality based on our present actions and thoughts.
So the big question we should probably leave everyone with is, well, it's a direct one.
Go for it.
Are you consciously compounding growth in the areas you care about? Or are you maybe letting decay compound instead, perhaps without even realizing it?
That's the crucial reflection, isn't it? Growth or decay. It's a profound thing to ponder long after this conversation ends.
It truly is. And on that reflective note, we've reached the end of this deep dive into the surprisingly pervasive world of compounding. Thank you for joining us. We really hope this has given you some valuable food